Hello, and welcome back to the Retrain Back Pain podcast. I'm your host, Dinneen, and I'm also the creator of Retrain Back Pain. So today we're going to talk about anticipation, fear, stress, and pain, and how all of those things connect, are interrelated, and what we can do about it so that we experience less of them and can get back to our life and doing those things that truly move us. So let's get into it. I recently wrote in my newsletter to my community a story, and it prompted me to host what I'm calling the Stop Anticipating Problems Challenge. And so the story, let me tell you the story first. And at the end of the story, I'm going to get to my original points. And then I'm also going to invite you to join me for this challenge. It's just a week. So the story goes like this. About a dozen or so years ago, I took a family vacation with my husband and my son and some friends of ours up in Washington State. And they brought their family, and we brought our young son, who at the time was just a wee little toddler. And we were staying at this beautiful lake house. My husband took my son out for a paddle on the kayak, his first ever kayaking paddle. And of course, he loved it. And when they got back to shore, we had a little beach in front of our property. I wanted to put the kayak away, and my son wanted to play in the kayak. And we had a little bit of a tussle, and he started getting a little cranky about it. And so my friend came down to the beach and wanted to know what all the ruckus was about. And I explained to her that my son wants to play in the kayak, but I want to put it away because if he hangs out in the kayak, he's just going to want to go back out on the water every 5 minutes. And it was the start of our holiday, and I didn't want to spend the whole holiday on a kayak, right? So I wanted to put it away so that my kid wouldn't badger me to go back out on the water every 5 minutes. And my friend looked a little perplexed. And she said, "How do you know he's going to want to do that?" I said, "Well, I'm anticipating he's going to want to do that because that's what toddlers do, and I just don't want to deal with it." And she thought about it for a little while again. And then she came right up to me and she looked right in my eyes and she put her hands on my arms like this. So she was framing me, and she said, "Dinneen, don't anticipate problems." And then she turned around and she walked up to the house. And I was left on the beach like, don't anticipate problems? What is she talking about? Of course I'm going to anticipate problems. That's what I do. That's what I do best. I always anticipate problems. How else could I be prepared for everything life is going to throw at me? So if you're the type of person who anticipates problems because, like me, you want to feel prepared for everything, this story is for you and this challenge is for you. So I let the kid play in the kayak, and he had a heck of a time and everything was fine. A couple hours later, we went up to the house, and I was sitting at the table or sitting at the kitchen counter having a glass of wine with my friend. And I said, "You were right. He just wanted to play in the kayak. He didn't even ask to go back out in the kayak. He was more than happy to just sit in the boat and splash in the little puddles and, play with the oar and the buckles and whatever." And then I felt like I needed to explain myself. I felt like I wanted to share with her that it's important for me, I think ahead so that I can be prepared, so that I'm less stressed, because I don't want to be thrown into a tizzy, into the unknowns of the future. And she was like, really what you're doing is you're doubling your stress. You think you're alleviating stress by being prepared for it, but you're stressing about it in your head, and it might never happen. So you're taking on superfluous stress. She's like, "Why would you sign up for stress twice when you might only have to deal with it once?" Was her point. And I thought about it, and she's right. there's a certain, I understand, and I still struggle mightily with my driving need to feel like I'm prepared all the time. But why worry about things twice? Why get upset twice was her point. And so to bring this back to our discussion and retraining back pain and injuries and health and you, do you anticipate problems? Are you taking on stress about the stress that you're going to feel later? And so, it's an interesting topic, right? Stress, the anticipation of stress causes stress. It's been proven. It's a thing. But we feel like if we anticipate the stress that we can prepare for it, right? But the truth is that just thinking about being stressed is stressful. The link here is that stress increases our sensitivity to pain, right? So not only are we sort of doubling down on stress now, stress later, but when we increase stress, the same physiologic processes that we go through when we're stressed also heighten our awareness and our sensitivity to pain. Furthermore, so we've got stress begets stress. Stress heightens pain, and then also our anticipation of pain heightens our sensitivity to pain. So if you're worried about stress, you're going to be stressed. If you're worried about stress, you're going to be stressed, and you may feel more pain. If you're worried about stress and pain, you're almost guaranteed to feel more stress and pain, right? So what are we supposed to do about this? There are a lot of things that we can do about this. Everything is a choice, right? So this morning I was working out, and I've been trying new workouts and doing all sorts of things that I never used to do before. And I was trying to do a candlestick sit-up, which is where you roll on your back and then you roll to stand up, and you roll on your back and you roll to stand up. And I was uncomfortable. It wasn't feeling good in my body for a couple of different reasons. And I thought, I can't do the workout. That was my initial response. But really what we want to do for today and in today's exercise, and as this first part of the Don't Anticipate Problems challenge, is we want to focus on the things that we can do. So in my situation, I could focus on, I can't do this candlestick sit-up, stand-up, whatever they call it. I can't do the workout, and I could have just gotten up and left. But instead, I did something else. That is my suggestion for you. Two things. Number one, when you start to feel yourself projecting into the future, it's taking us out of the present. It's taking us away from the here and the now. So me worrying about my son annoying me to go back on the water on a kayak was taking me away from, this is the kid's first time in a kayak. He just wants to play in the damn kayak. I should have just sat on the sand and played with my kid in the kayak. So it took me out of the moment, right? And the kid didn't badger me to go back in the kayak. He loves kayaking, by the way. It's one of his favorite things to do on the water, as it turns out. He's almost 17 now. Anyway, I digress. The point is, when you start to feel yourself launching into the future, launching into anticipation, whether it's anticipation of stress or anticipation of fear or anticipation of injury or anticipation of problems, When you start to feel that happen, you need a mantra. You need something to say to yourself to snap yourself back into the present. So for me, I just say to myself, just focus on what's in front of you. I'm just going to focus on what's in front of me. So say that to yourself. I'm just going to focus on what's in front of me. Right? And then in 5 minutes, you might be, 2 years down the road in your head again. And that's perfectly normal. But this process of reeling things back, of coming back into the present moment, it's a practice. It's why people meditate, right? Meditation is a great way to help you develop these practices of not anticipating and not going into the worry and the anxiety and the fear. So for the purposes of movement and your back pain and, in my practice, what I see a lot with people is that they are not moving because they're afraid to move, because everything hurts, because they don't want to make it worse, because they don't know what to do and what not to do. There are lots of reasons why a lot of my clients aren't moving, but I think the number one reason is just probably uncertainty. And with uncertainty comes lots of emotions like fear and hopelessness and dependency and uncertainty and hesitancy. And it's really hard to stand in your power when you're uncertain, when you don't have enough information. And so, obviously Retrain Back Pain is all about giving you the information you need to prevent, relieve, and manage your back pain like a boss. That's what I do. That's what I help you understand how to do for your life, for your body, for your needs. But absent of you deciding to work with me, and there are lots of reasons why people don't work with me, just do the things that you can do. Okay? Just focus on those activities that you can do and do a little bit of them with a little bit more frequency each day. So if all you can do is stand up for 5 minutes, then you just stand up for 5 minutes. And then in another hour or two, you stand up for another 5 minutes. There are some other things that you can try to do. And so the name of the game here with not anticipating pain, the problem is that when you anticipate pain and you stop doing the things that you love to do and you start resting more or resting too much, it's called fear avoidance, right? We start to draw back from those activities that we like to engage in because we're afraid of getting hurt again. Understandable. However, the byproduct of fear avoidance behaviors is that we get out of shape. We become deconditioned because we're doing less. So what we are going to look to do in the Don't Anticipate Problems portion of our program, and this falls under the think element in the Retrain Back Pain program, is I want to encourage you to figure out what can you do. So instead of focusing on, I can't hike anymore, and I can't ski anymore, and I can't go jogging anymore, I can't ride my bike anymore, I don't want you to think that way. It's really much better for you and for your trajectory of healing and strengthening to focus on the things that you can do. And then incrementally, you keep stacking up these things that you can do. And over time, you'll be able to do more of them. You'll be able to do it with more frequency, whatever it is. And then when you're doing more things with more frequency, you are incrementally getting stronger just by doing the things you can do. And I'm sorry to blow the top off of the back pain industry here, but there is no one exercise or 3 exercises that are better than any other ones. So don't worry about if it's good for your back or bad for your back today. When you get off this podcast, I want you to think about, what can I do? And go do it. And then tomorrow, you're going to do just a little bit more of that thing, whatever it is. And then maybe in 2 or 3 or 4 days, if that thing is going well, maybe you add another thing, another activity to it. right? And so you're sort of slowly building a little sandcastle here, to keep with my kayaking beach analogy. You're slowly building a little sandcastle of can-do activities. Yeah? And over time, this will help to build your confidence, which is really important when we're healing. And it's also helping you to get incrementally stronger with the things you can do. And that's important if you want to graduate to doing things that you haven't done in a while because you're hurt, like go skiing or hike 7 miles, right? I don't recommend you just get out there and start hiking 7 miles. You need to prepare, you need to warm up, you might want to do some mobility and some strengthening and some ankle work. So that kind of concludes what we're talking about today. If you're not sure what you can do for yourself, you can try a couple of these things. You can try standing, and fidgeting is okay when you're standing, but try and stand for, 5 minutes. If that works well, do it again in a couple hours, and then do it again in a couple hours after that. So I'm going to rattle off just a list of things off the top of my head that you might be able to start engaging in if you're like, I don't know what I can do. Once you start thinking about it and you see that I'm not talking about, pull-ups and bench presses and deadlifts. I'm just talking about regular stuff you do in your day. So some of those things are walking. And if you can't walk, if you're like, no, walking, that's a no-no for me, that's fine. Don't worry about it. Let's find something that you can do. That's the point. Wall sits. Go lean on a wall and bend your knees a little bit and strengthen your thighs. If you do it for 30 seconds, that's great. If you do it for a minute, that's great too. Doesn't matter. The point is, I want you to do something, right? I want you to stop telling yourself that you can't do anything because everything hurts. I want you to find the things that you can do. Arm circles, overhead reach with a side bend. Maybe stand in place and then bring one knee up and then the other knee for high knee taps. You can do a standing jack, which is just standing with your knee slightly bent. Raise your hands over your head as you step one leg out to the side and then arms down, legs together. It's like a jumping jack, but you're not jumping. Shadow boxing. You can just look at yourself in your reflection in a window or just shadow box. Just start punching the air. Arm circles, right? Calf raises. There are lots of things that you can do that don't hurt your back. And I want you to do those things. I want you to start piling them into a little routine. Start with 1 or 2 things today for a little bit of time in a small range of motion. And then tomorrow you do those same 1 or 2 things, maybe for a little bit longer. Maybe if that range of motion was appropriate for you, maybe your pelvic circles get a little bit bigger. Doesn't matter if you do pelvic circles sitting or standing or kneeling or half kneeling or lying down, right? Focus on the things that you can do and take some active measures to stop anticipating problems. And you'll find that when you can be present and resist anticipating the ouch and the stress and the pain, you may find that your pain decreases just from doing those simple things. Maybe. There are lots of other things that you can do to stop anticipating problems, to decrease stress, to reduce your pain. This is just one tiny itty-bitty little proactive tip that I'm sending out into the world that maybe is going to help somebody out there. So I hope you find this helpful. I'd love to hear back from you if you were able to stop anticipating problems, if you've been able to start focusing on the things you can do and doing more of them and getting stronger that way. As always, you'll find me on social media as Retrain Back Pain. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much for listening. Please take a second to hit the like button on whatever platform you're using. And if you want to leave a little review, that's going to help other people who are also experiencing back pain to find me and us and our community and hopefully help more people find more solutions. That's all for now. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.